Again, the questions still coming in about COVID-19 and the state's response. We are continuing our live conversation with Governor Sununu, and Governor Elizabeth asks, what are the plans for schools in the fall? Will students and staff be required to wear masks?
Great question. So we have a task force that we've set up at the Department of Education. Commissioner Aelbloot is looking at a task force, both K-12 education as well, working with the higher education groups. It's not determined whether we're going to require or mandate masks in certain situations or not. We're just not there, but they're looking at all the different aspects, from how do you do food service, how do you do a recess or indoor recess, things like that. How do you structure a classroom, or is there any different? And what other PPE requirements may be allowed or necessary in those situations. So it's all being looked at, and I think in the next few weeks, maybe in the next month or so, we'll have a better sense of the different options. We also don't know where the virus is going to be in September, so we want to keep a variety of different options available so we can get kids back, but do it in a safe and sound way.
Along those same lines, Deb asks, if schools reopen in the fall, do you think it would be safe to bus these kids back and forth? If drivers feel unsafe to do so, will they be able to collect unemployment?
So obviously the busing is a very big part of this, the transportation requirements, that'll all be considered. So whatever we decide will be done in a safe way. We'll have guidance around to ensure the safety of the children, of the bus drivers, whatever it might be. If a bus driver is choosing not to come to work, then again, I'm not sure where the unemployment, we've really expanded our ability to have unemployment benefits available for folks with COVID. It very well may still be in place in September. We're really not sure at this point, so I can't say what opportunities might be available for them. But whatever we do is going to help ensure the safety of the kids and the drivers. So I'm hopeful we won't be in that situation.
Sharon asks, what about people who own rental property who are not being able to collect rent but still have to pay taxes and mortgages?
So right now we have a moratorium on foreclosures and rental evictions in New Hampshire. That's probably, we're going to make an announcement Monday on where that goes, and my sense is it probably won't be around for much longer, frankly. So we've given folks a couple months to be able to have some financial flexibility. We understand it can create a burden on those individuals that have to collect that rent or collect those mortgages. So, and knowing that the federal government has really stood up with a lot of unemployment insurance, that has really allowed people to pay their rent, to pay their mortgages, to get their food. Folks aren't in as dire of a financial situation as they might have been back in 2009, 10, and 11. We don't anticipate seeing a massive amount of foreclosures as we were very concerned about 2 or 3 months ago. So I think we're going to be in a decent position, and we're going to try to at some point lift that moratorium and get that aspect of the economy moving forward.
Christine asks, child care centers are a huge part of the economy. Are you going to lift any of the restrictions?
So childcare right now has a lot of flexibility. What we've tried to do, we've never shut down childcare centers. We actually incentivize them with some additional pay for those who were watching and taking care of the children of some of our essential workers and all the businesses that are currently open, because we wanted to encourage that to happen. We have about 250 child care centers open as of a week ago. About 100 more are looking to reopen, which is great. So we're trying to provide a lot of opportunity, a lot of ability for them to have extra funds to clean and whatnot. And we just put another $25 million into child care, our child care programs across the state, which we think is going to create a huge opportunity to get those organizations up and running, give them some financial stability, and make sure the parents have that flexibility as they start returning to work.
Okay, Governor, thank you. Stay right there. We've got plenty of questions, more coming in. We'll be back right after the break.